The Better Business Analysis Institute
presents the Better Business Analysis podcast with
Benjamin Walsh.
Hi everybody and welcome back to the Better Business Analysis podcast with your host Benjamin Walsh. Happy New Year if this is the first podcast you've listened to in 2025. Today on our BA Byte series we're going to talk about 10 lies stakeholders tell and how to decode them. That's right, stakeholders lie. Let's dive in. Stakeholders don't mean to lie, but let's face it, they often do. From the harmless to the dangerous, these little fibs can make or break a project if we don't spot them early. In this episode, we'll uncover the top 10 lies stakeholders tell, what they really mean, and how you, as a business analyst, can decode them. Number 1. We know exactly what we need. They want to appear prepared or avoid lengthy discussions or debate. The truth, they have a vague idea but lack clarity on the details, which is why you're there. How to respond to that? Great. Could you walk me through your thought process? I'd like to map out the specifics to make sure we're all aligned. Great move. And I'll draw a process diagram along the way. Number 2, this will be a quick project. Now, stakeholders say this because they're usually trying to secure buy-in. They've got limited budget and they don't want to scare anyone off from actually jumping on board and helping out. The truth is they've underestimated the complexity. They have no idea how they're going to deliver this. So how you respond, you say, that's encouraging. Let's break this down into phases to validate the timeline. Are there any hidden dependencies we should consider, or can we just go through the constraints and assumptions we're making here? Number 3, we've already got budget for this. Hear it all the time. Why they say it? They're saying it because they don't want to risk delays by admitting that funding might be an issue. They're hiding it from you. They think that's management, but it's not. It's just lack of transparency. The truth is, the budget is probably tentative. They may not have even done a business case. It's incomplete, or there's a risk of it being pulled. How you respond? Fantastic. We'll review the budget allocation to make sure we've accounted for every potential cost and, the vendors, or I just need to do some numbers on some server costs. So if you just give me your budget, I'll add this to it. Okay, that's how you respond. Number 4 is everyone's on board with this. Very arrogant. Why do they say it? They don't want to deal with conflict or dissenting opinions in the team. It's usually they say that if someone disagrees with what they say or want. A manager might say that when a SME's saying don't do it. The real truth is there are likely stakeholders who haven't been consulted or are going to disagree, so they've gone around them. How you respond, again, you start off with, that's great to hear. Can we just confirm who the stakeholders are, who will be involved, so I can loop them into the discussions, and who will be making the sign off, and does anyone else need to feed back into this? And if they say, oh yeah, actually Bob does, but Bob disagrees with this piece of work, then, you might have an issue that you need to manage up front. Number 5, we just need a small change. You've heard it. They want to downplay the effort to make the request more palatable or get it on the list because it's bigger than it really appears. That small change probably affects multiple systems or processes or difficult people. How you respond? Of course. Let's review the impact on this change so we can estimate the effort accurately. Let's do an impact workshop and just understand all the elements and the scope. Number 6, the users will love this. That's assumptions there that they know what the user wants. There's no insight. They haven't actually asked them or done any user or customer insight analysis. Users probably haven't been consulted and their needs may differ. How do we respond? That sounds promising. Can we just gather some user feedback to validate that assumption or to help with the UX design? And then you make it a bit bigger and ask, actually, is this problem for you, or is the solution going to solve the problem? Ask the users that, right? And then feed that back and say, this is the analysis we've done and this is the feedback we've got. Number 7, we don't need documentation, just get it done. I get this often in a BA world where you put in the BA quote and then it's 20% of the project costs and they want to cut costs. So they say, we don't need a BA, we're documenting anything. It's agile, we're just getting in there. This is when they're in the rush and they see documentation as unnecessary bureaucracy, where it's actually getting clarity and transparency and making sure that you've got a wall of defense. And if someone says they don't need documentation, risk. Alarm bells go off. They'll ask for documentation when things go wrong, don't you worry. So you respond by saying, I can keep it lightweight, but we'll just document some of the decisions we're making to ensure that we can maintain and scale this effectively, and we'll find the right balance so we can get it through sign-off through the architectural forum or governance forums or privacy officer. Number 8, the vendor says that their solution can handle everything. Usually get this after your CEO's gone to Vegas. This is where your IT manager is taking the vendor's worldview and they're taking their word at face value without technical validation and probity and doing all the proper procurement we should do. The solution will have limits. Everything does. Integration challenges. It's not aligned with your roadmap. You can respond by saying, let's create a checklist of the requirements to just verify the solution meets them during the demo and then any holes. I've experienced this before when we were moving or looking for a solution to replace Navision. It was a complicated, customized system we were using in Europe, and SAP pitched and they said, yeah, we can do all this. This is like responding to a bit of a request for information, very light. And the IT manager was like, they can do everything. So I asked for a demo. I was quite young. And I went through the requirements, just really, really high level, asked questions, and they were like, oh, we can't really customize it to do that. And it was a flop. The IT manager was grateful I asked the questions. I don't know how we were in that position in the first place. SAP were trying to sell us their new product, which was SAP One Online at the time. And it was just a disaster, and we walked away from that. Number 9. This is the top priority for everyone in this organization. This is when they want you to prioritize their project above everything else, with no talk about objectives or alignment with strategic initiatives. Other stakeholders may have conflicting priorities. You've usually got a board of directors, a CEO, for example, or you'll have like 8 SLT members. And so them saying that's important to them, using their kind of leadership position to put pressure on you to prioritize, is unhealthy. You can say, can we just confirm that we're mapping this to the strategic objectives, and then I'm happy to present to the senior leadership team and show them how this aligns, and then suddenly you'll unpack that maybe there is disagreement across the SLT. And number 10, it's we'll deal with that later. They want to defer difficult situations or challenges, right? And later often never comes. And those issues will snowball and they will land on your lap. You can respond by saying, I understand that's not a focus right now, but it might be easier to tackle this earlier, our big ticket items, instead of avoiding bigger challenges down the line. Can we explore a quick solution now, or at least get it into the plan? So there you have it. There are 10 lies that stakeholders tell and how to decode them and deal with them as a BA. I hope you learned something. I'm sure you've been in those situations in your role, and I'll see you next week.